With dopamine, there's two like ways that we talk about dopamine. There's tonic dopamine and there's phasic dopamine. And it's really important to understand these two types of dopamine to understand motivation. So, phasic dopamine is the dopamine that's released by random things throughout the day. So, that can be unexpected rewards, that can be like a coffee, a ping, like novelty, all of those dopaminergic things. You guys know what I'm talking about. Tonic dopamine, though, is more interesting. And I really, really, really believe that these days workplaces are completely screwing people's tonic dopamine. So, tonic dopamine is the perceived effort and reward calculation that the brain does. And so we know that in jobs that have very high perceived effort and low reward, we get very low tonic dopamine. This leads to depressive symptoms, apathy, motivation problems, fatigue, and burnout. So a lot of the issues that we have these days are from the mechanism of tonic dopamine, which means it is the mechanism of the effort and reward calculation. And so you might be wondering, well, like, what's going on? Like, why is this effort and reward calculation off all of a sudden, and why wasn't it off before? One of the reasons that this is such an issue these days is because we actually don't know how much work we need to do to get a reward, and the amount of work that we do need to do to get a reward has increased. At the same time, work is more ambiguous. It is not as clear cut as it previously was. The rate of change in the world has increased, and so we need to adapt. This is very difficult for the human mind because now that effort and reward calculation is almost like doing advanced calculus when before it was doing like simple arithmetic, right? Imagine you're like a farmer back in the day. You're thinking, well, how many potatoes do I need to plant in order to make, I don't know, $1,000, right? And so you sort of know for the most part, I plant this many potatoes, I get this much yield, and then I can sell them for this much. Obviously, there's market fluctuations, there's weather issues, there's disease for the plants, all of these things. But usually you would account for that and you would have some type of like historical memory of that and maybe even like plant a bit more to account for those issues, right? This is like not advanced math. These days, you are in a corporate environment. Maybe you work for a tech company and you want to reach the next stage, right? And so they tell you all of these things. They're like, ooh, you need to improve your executive presence. What does that mean? Like, what does that even mean? So, a lot of the things that you're often told are basically like buzzwords that don't really mean anything and are highly subjective, right? Basically, there's also the potential that maybe they just don't have the funds to promote someone these days. Maybe they just ran out of promotions. Maybe you don't have a great relationship with your manager. Who knows? Who knows, right? And so this is why these days we're experiencing these like crazy levels of burnout because we just want to have agency in our lives. This is a human need to have agency and autonomy over your own progression in life is a psychological need for humans. If we do not get this, we get depressed. Point blank. And so when we're faced in these highly complex systems that are extremely ambiguous, where your manager doesn't even know what's going to happen, then we want agency over our own lives. We want to have control. We want to be like, okay, tell me what I need to do. Tell me how many units of work I need to do to get that promotion. And they're like, I don't know. Your unit of effort is executive presence. And you're just like, what does that mean? And they're like, I don't know. That's what they told me. And so, like, this is so highly ambiguous. And so the brain runs the calculation like it did, like in our like potato farmer example. And it's like, we don't know. We don't know how much effort that is because executive presence is subjective. And so somebody may come along and be like, yeah, you have fine executive presence. And somebody else might be like, no, you don't. And it might not even be about executive presence. It might be about something else. You don't know. That's a possibility. I've seen both scenarios in my work. Like there's the potential that you're kind of getting a little bit gaslit. And there's the potential that you actually do need to increase your communication skills. But the thing is, you don't know because it's a highly ambiguous, subjective environment. And the thing is, these days, like getting paid like a good amount of money, you're going to be doing an ambiguous job. That's just the way it is. You're going to be doing, or potentially you're going to be doing a job that requires very high effort and, like moderate to low reward. And the effort is rising because a lot of companies are doing layoffs and then they're asking you, oh, like, will you also do these tasks? And so now your effort that you're doing for the same reward is your effort is risen. This is a recipe for burnout, apathy, depression. And so, if you're experiencing this, you are not alone. This is exactly the way that the brain should work because this is how the brain is designed to work. We are not meant to work in a situation that doesn't yield reward for our effort. And we're not meant to work in situations in which we don't understand how much effort we need to put into something in order to get that reward. We've kind of reached like a whole new level in civilization where like this equation is breaking down. Not, and with that, we also have all of these things that kind of mess with our dopaminergic systems. And so it's even harder because we're getting free reward all over the place. We got the processed food, we got the entertainment, we got that like cheap, free dopamine. Not free, but like, really cheap. And so now we're like, why should I do this task that's going to take me a ton of effort when I could just get, reward all over the place? And so if you're experiencing avoidance, motivation issues, focus issues, if you're kind of having like that apathy or like disengagement from work, this is normal. This is happening to so many people. It is not just you. It's just because like this is exactly what should happen. That's the problem. And so in my group, this is what we work on overcoming. In my group, we're basically a bunch of people that work in these types of environments and need to overcome this equation and this system in order to keep feeling well, staying motivated, and progressing in a system that probably is not designed for our ancient brains. So if this is interesting to you, link in bio and all that. But I just want to leave you with the idea that ancient brain, modern world, if you're experiencing disengagement, this is not some type of like deep, existential, philosophical thing to solve. This is simple neuroscience. Your brain runs a calculation, effort, reward. And these days, that calculation does not land in our favor. And what happens is that when that calculation doesn't land the way you want it to, the brain will automatically run demotivation on purpose because that's what's meant to happen. So, one of the things that you can do is sort of like change the relationship you have with your demotivation, in that you can view it almost like a protective mechanism instead of something that's gone wrong with you. Nothing has gone wrong with you. This is essentially like a giant experiment. Like if we did an experiment to get people to be demotivated, this is exactly what we would do. We would give them all these like layoffs and ambiguous reorgs and like ambiguous feedback. Oh, executive presence. Like what? Like we would put you in this structure and it would automatically result in demotivation. This is exactly what should happen. Nothing has gone wrong with you. I hope that helps some of you. If you have any questions or you'd like to get feedback on your specific situation, go ahead and DM me and I will do my best to respond to as many DMs as I can.